This episode is brought to you by Coffee Mate. Coffee Mate is the world's biggest coffee lover because we love all the ways you enjoy. Wait. Coffee Mate can't love coffee more than me. I'm a foodie. I went to Kyoto just for a nitro matcha latte. What? Oh, I have to finish the ad. Coffee Mate, for the love of coffee.
Your teen requested a ride, but this time not from you. It's through their Uber teen account. You drive your teenager around, a lot, to their friend Jacob's house, their other friend Jake's house, to James's, to Jaden's, to Jalen's, to...
Mom? This is Jake's house, not Jacob's.
Now with an Uber teen account, your teen can request a ride under your supervision. They'll ride with a highly rated driver, and with live trip tracking, you'll follow along the whole ride to their friends' houses that all sound the same. Add your teen to your Uber account today. See app for details.
Bye, Mom.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our Golden 20s podcast. My name is Tegan, and I'm joined with my co-host Sadie, and we are back this week to talk all about our work routines. We thought that this would be kind of like back to school themed a little, even if you aren't, in school anymore. It's still a really good time to kind of come up with a good routine. And, Sadie started a new job. I moved into a new house. So I feel like we'll also have some good insights into, like maybe how our routines have changed and that sort of thing. But before we dive in, we are going to do a connection card. This card says, the current chapter of my life is teaching me about blank.
This is a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Mine immediately goes to work. That's probably no surprise if you guys know me, but I've been thinking a lot about this actually, and my therapist just came back from mat leave. I just had my first session with her in a while, and I was starting to talk to her about this, and I was like, I feel there's more to it, so let's dig into it, like in following sessions. And I don't know. I feel like I've been thinking this so much. Maybe I've said it on the podcast recently. Maybe not. If I have, I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself. But all this being said, last year around my birthday, when I turned 28, so this was like last October, I was coming out of a really low mental health time. And through working with my therapist, we came up with what are things that I want to focus on in my next year kind of thing. And one of those things was setting boundaries, enforcing boundaries, communicating my boundaries, and communicating my needs. And I've been doing this in my personal life, so with friends and family, and I feel like I've made really big strides on that, but I'm being challenged in this new job Tegan just mentioned that I transitioned to over the summer. I now manage 7 people, which is a shit ton of people to manage as a new manager and still being pretty early in my career, I guess. And I'm having to set boundaries and communicate my needs at work in much different ways than I've had to in the past, or it's just a lot more to manage. So I don't know. I feel like that's the first thing that comes to mind just because it's so top of mind for me, where it's still working on setting boundaries, enforcing boundaries, communicating needs, not taking on other people's stuff as my own. That's kind of the overarching theme of communicating my needs and setting boundaries, but now doing that at a much larger scale with how many people I'm managing at work.
Nice. Yeah, I think that that's a good one, and a theme that probably comes up for lots of people through your 20s in
Totally.
Different chapters of your life. I think for me, this chapter of my life is teaching me about patience, because I just am surrounded by a lot of projects that I want to do while I can't do them all because I've got to work 40 hours a week and have other stuff going on in my life. And yeah, it's quite challenging for me because I am the kind of person who I am a planner, but I'm also okay, here's the plan. We're doing it right now. So to be surrounded by lots of things where it's I'm going to have to get to that later is such a struggle. because I would just stay up all night and do it. And that's not healthy when now you have a whole house full of projects. So yeah, trying to balance the patience that comes with home ownership, because I want to be very proud of my home, but these things take time or money, and I don't want to spend that. So.
Yeah. Often they take both time and money.
Yeah, true. It's like, yeah, I could just hire someone and they could do it while I'm working, which I'm sure is what lots of people do, but I'm not going to do that. So instead I just look at all my unfinished projects, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, like they say, good things come with time. So I feel like it's a important lesson, but I completely understand how frustrating it is to be like, I just want it all and I want it all right now.
Yeah, and I feel like it's even just like moving into a new space. We've talked about this before in like home decor episodes, where it's like decorating your house, unless you want to spend a lot of money up front, takes time, because you have to like hunt for the pieces you like and look for the deals and really try and find your style. And it's not realistic to be like, when you move into a place, okay, this is how I'm going to style it, and I'm going to buy all the furniture and that sort of stuff. So like there's that element as well. So yeah. Patience. It just like your environment, I feel like, impacts your mental health so much. So I'm now trying to come up with like, okay, what are the things I can do where I won't be stressed, and then I can ignore the rest. But I'm getting very good at ignoring mess. So maybe I'll just embrace it.
That's funny. Well, I feel like today's episode is maybe like a solution a little bit, because we're going to be talking all about routine. And I feel like why I love routine so much is it really helps you manage your time when there's so much to do. And you can kind of carve out time. If you have a consistent routine, you know there's a plan in place to tick all the boxes. So if that's like Tegan was saying, like a project around the house one night, if it's you need some self-care, like I really lean into my routine to make sure I'm balancing all the things as best as I can. And I feel like as we talk through this episode, there's going to definitely be people listening who are like, I do not resonate with this. This sounds like overkill. These girls are crazy, because like these routines are just, at least mine, like I'm such a type A personality where I feel like it's very hard to relate to me if you're not the same personality type. So I recognize that and acknowledge it, but I do feel like there is like that benefit of having a routine where it's like, but there's a plan, and then we just have to show up and do the plan, and that's kind of the easy part in my case.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I feel like this is a really good time to sort of like jumpstart your routine, or think about the routine you have and be like, okay, this is working, this isn't. Just because in the summer, at least for me, I find that it's so busy. You're getting invited to like a bunch of random things, you're traveling, and it can be easy to like throw away parts of your routine. And I find for me, like my routine gets really, really simplified through the summer, because if it's too complex, it's not going to happen. And especially when you're really busy. And then through the fall and winter, especially in Canada, you're going out less because it's really cold. So it's a good time to be like, okay, maybe we're habit stacking. We're building on the routine we have, and we're figuring out what's working. So yeah, hopefully this is a good time to sort of like listen to what our routines are, and you can maybe get some inspiration from us and come up with what your own routines should look like.
Yeah, so we have a few different things we're going to chat through. Maybe we can start with like our morning routine tag, and we can work through kind of like mornings, what our work day looks like, and then our night routines. And then we also have a few things that maybe don't happen every single day that we won't mention in the morning, work day, night routine, but we can share those at the end.
Definitely.
Yeah, do you want to kick us off with your morning routine?
Sure. This is actually something I just journaled about like maybe 3 or 4 days ago, because moving, I was like, what the heck do I even want to do in the mornings? I don't know. And I always find that I struggle. I am not a morning person. Sadie, I know that you're also not a morning person. I am a night person, and a lot of times when I'm planning my morning, it's late at night, and I'm just like so pumped about I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do this, and then I wake up feel awful, and none of those things happen. So I'm trying to have an actual realistic morning routine. It doesn't involve exercise. It doesn't involve like going for a bike run, then doing a cold plunge, then, you know, because I'm not a morning girl. It's very simple, but that's what works for me. So first things first, I have a coffee. I know that this is bad because I'm having coffee on an empty stomach, but I don't care. It's realistic for me. So I have my coffee and then I have a little journal session in bed. And I mean like minuscule. I actually use the 5-minute journal. So it literally, I don't even think it takes 5 minutes. It probably takes me 30 seconds, but I did want to mention that. And if you're new to journaling, we do have a discount code for the 5-minute journals if you buy through Intelligent Change. So that's in our like descriptions for the episode if that's interesting to you. And I kind of envision getting like a comfy chair for my bedroom because I don't like staying in my bed once I've woken up. In my mind, my bed's just for sleeping. Like I can't wrap my head around people who can like eat in bed and stuff like that. So my ideal is I would grab my coffee, go sit in a comfy chair and do my journaling. Then I'll make my bed, do my skincare, and this can be like more elaborate or more simple depending on my energy levels. Get dressed, and when I get dressed to my slippers, and this is because I heard that this can like help stay-at-home moms if they like get dressed to their shoes to feeling like their day has actually started. So I started implementing slippers into my like routine once I started working from home, as an idea being like, okay, it is time to work. I've got my slippers on. It's go time. I'm fully dressed. We've talked about it before that I don't wear like pajamas to work. I don't wear sweatpants. I usually am just wearing jeans. So I am fully dressed. I don't normally wear makeup when I work from home, and I don't always wear jewelry and things like that, but I am wearing like actual hard pants, a shirt. I'm camera on every single morning, so I have to be like somewhat presentable, and slippers, and then I will fill up my water bottle. And that's my little morning routine.
I love it. I feel like there's lots of similarities in my morning routine as well. And I am also not a morning person. I feel like we need to normalize, because this is the thing. As somebody who's very like inspired by entrepreneurs and like the girl boss movement, you know, like I'm not just a millennial, I'm the girl boss millennial, where it was like I really bought into that when I was starting my career. It was like, okay, well, the CEO of Pepsi wakes up at 5 a.m. and she does this. Kris Jenner, she, you know, responds to all the emails by 5 a.m. and she's in the gym, like all these things. And it's like, I had it in my head for many years, probably up until like literally, I don't know, recently, that if I want to be the successful businesswoman, I need to wake up at 5 a.m. be a morning person. So I've always set the goal for myself to be a morning person. And I've done things over the years to try to like step in that direction. And I've just learned that that's not me. And I just want to like normalize that, because if you're listening, chances are if you're listening to this episode, but on someone else's podcast, they're going to be like, okay, now you need to wake up earlier. And like you said, Tag, hit the gym and do all these things, where it's like, for Tegan and I, that's just not realistic. So what is more realistic is me doing things the night before to help out my morning self. And in the mornings, all I need to do, again, is just get up and do the things that I had already planned for the night before, or like started to organize for myself the night before. But I really, really, really prioritize slow and quiet mornings. Like I need a little bit of time before I actually log into work to myself, but it's not because I need to like get in a workout or do any of those things we were like just talking about are typically like romanticized in a morning routine. So my morning routine's very similar, where I wake up, first thing I do is usually feed my cat, scoop her litter box, but then I make a coffee. And on my work from home days, I take that coffee right to my bed and also do some journaling. I have like an ongoing gratitude list for every month. So I just usually add a few points to that. And then my cat loves the morning. She's usually quite playful in the mornings, but usually I love to cuddle her before I head out or to my desk. On my like office days, so I'm now in the office twice a week, Mondays and Tuesdays, I usually skip this, to be honest, and just like make my coffee and go directly into my skincare and getting ready for the day. I don't typically journal on those days just because I don't give myself like enough time to do that and everything else by a certain time before I have to leave the house and commute. But all this being said, I do find there's a nice like, it feels nice to just start your day slow and easy with coffee and journaling. Then I will jump into doing my skincare. I also make my bed. And I want to say that both of these things were very intentional habits I was trying to form, where I was like, I don't have a skincare routine. I want to make one. So I started, with the basics. In the morning, I would do this. At night, I'd do this. And now it's like so routine where I don't even think about it. Next thing you know, my skincare is done. And I'm like, oh, I totally just blacked out that, I even need to do that or whatever. Like it doesn't take effort anymore. And same with making my bed. That is a big one. When I was a teenager, my room was constantly messy. My bed was never made. I probably went to bed with like shit on my bed like every single night. Where now, and it was actually how I formed this habit, was using a habit tracker on my phone, having my morning routine, what I wanted to do. And it was all very simple things, but making my bed was one of them. And now I do it every single day without any thought. And then outside of those kind of like smaller things, I just kind of tackle the basics. Like I do my hair, my makeup, and put on an outfit. This is both for my in-office and work from home days. I typically, more so on my office days, I make sure to eat breakfast before I leave the house. And this is, again, quick, easy things, since I'm not up with enough time to like prepare like eggs or pancakes or something a little more extravagant. Like I'm just putting a bagel in the toaster, popping my oatmeal in the microwave, making a smoothie, like just something super quick and easy, but will time me over until lunchtime. And why this is not groundbreaking, again, if you're listening and you are someone who eats breakfast all the time, you're like, okay, girl, you're not better than anybody just because you eat breakfast. But I never used to eat breakfast, especially when I was working from home full time. I would just skip right over it because I didn't wake up early enough to like have a morning routine. I would go right into working with the intention of eating like while I read my emails or something. But a lot of the time then I get sucked into my emails, just things pop up, the workday starts, and next thing you know, it's 12 o'clock and I haven't eaten anything. And I feel like when I was in that habit, I was constantly so anxious because when I'm running off empty, that's when my anxiety is at its peak. So now I make a point to make sure I eat breakfast. And then the only other things in my morning routine I wanted to mention are just really on my in-office days. So I will pack my lunch in the morning. I also pack my work tote, and then I commute to the office. Usually it takes me 20 to 45 minutes to get to the office since I take transit. But it's nice to have that time where it's like, okay, I have to leave the house by this time. So it kind of like forces me to get up, forces me to snooze a little bit less. But yeah, all this being said though, in the spirit of like being more of a night person and wanting to do things to help my future self, there's a few things that I do the morning of that I want to like shift into doing the night before, such as packing my lunch and packing my work tote. Because those are usually the things where I'm like, oh, I still need to do that. Now I'm all of a sudden 5 minutes late or whatever. So yeah.
Yeah, love it. I feel like we do have quite similar morning routines. So I'm hoping that if there are other night owls out there, they're like, okay, this is just like my routine, or I could add that or whatever.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we're very like overly ambitious in our morning routines, but that's on purpose.
Yeah, exactly. Because I know if I were, I just wouldn't do anything, where if the task is too impossible, you're not even going to try. So it's like, my morning routine literally started with make my bed, do my skincare. Then it was like, okay, now let's do my hair and my makeup. Okay, now let's also make sure we're getting dressed. Like,
Yeah.
and this was more so when I was working from home, but still, in any case, the small, simple things still make for an effective routine.
Yeah, exactly. I guess we can shift into our workday routines now. So, as I mentioned, I'm still working from home. My work starts at 9:30 a.m., which is, I feel like, also probably funny to some people that we're talking about not being morning people, and my work starts at 9:30 when I know people start work at like 5 a.m. and stuff, which I used to do that when I was in high school. I worked every weekend, 7 a.m., but not anymore. I log on at 9:30, and at my company we do time tracking. So the first thing I do is I enter all of my time from the day before so that I can keep everything organized. So I'll do that, write my to-do list, and then I have a daily call to go over priorities every single morning at 9:45. So this is what I mean that I need to be dressed, not necessarily presentable, but at the very least dressed, because we have a daily call every single morning and it is camera on. So that's how my day starts. Then I really structure my day first by doing big tasks in the morning. I find sometimes a lot of my work can be like I'm editing a video that takes multiple days, and it can be like quite overwhelming on knowing where to start. So what I'll do is start with the biggest sort of time block first thing in the morning when I'm like got the most amount of energy. I just logged on, nothing's distracting me. All of my other friends are logged into work, like no one's texting me, that sort of thing. And then I will break for lunch around noon. I just do that because my husband also works from home and he breaks at noon, and it's just easy to be like, okay, we're gonna go for lunch at the same time every day. I don't have to. Our like work's very flexible, so a lot of my coworkers have lunch at like 2 or 3, just so that they have like a really big morning, and then the afternoon goes really quickly. So that's kind of interesting, but I tend to stick around noon. And then in the afternoon, I'll try to work my way through the smaller tasks, because I find if I'm doing something that's too time consuming, I'm just getting so tired. I'm getting like cranky. I'm like, I don't want to do this. Where if it's like little things I'm getting done, I'm checking off the list. I find that it just makes my day feel a little better, makes the time go faster, and I log off every day at 5:30.
Love it. I feel for the work days, I'm maybe opposite of you. And again, I think this goes into my whole not being a morning person. I tell people at work, like, vocalize, don't book meetings with me before 10 a.m. because my mind has not turned on yet, regardless of how early I get up. If I enjoy that slow, simple, like morning, like my brain just doesn't work in the mornings. So I log in at 9 and then basically continue my slow morning as soon as I log in, at least for that first hour. So this is just like reading, responding to emails. Something I wanted to mention here that I've mentioned in other episodes is that I subscribe to newsletters that are like more fun to read and I look forward to those. I like subscribe with my work email, which maybe I shouldn't be like recommending, but it makes me look forward to reading my emails every day. So just thought that was kind of something different to include. Otherwise, I'm just reading the usual bullshit that lands in your Outlook inbox and reply to emails. I'm an inbox 0 person, so I am replying to emails. I'm filing emails away if they don't require me to respond, or like if it's more just my team being like FYI, I read it, file it away. And then I do a campaign check-in. So my team runs paid social ads across pretty much every single social platform. So it's a lot to check in on. We also manage multiple like lines of business, multiple stores and banners. So it's a lot to check, but I make sure I have dedicated time every single morning to make sure things are live, things are pacing correctly, that sort of thing. And then we also have like a project tracker or like management system. So I make sure to review that first thing in the morning as well, just to like view what's coming up for the day, what's coming up for the rest of that week. Also looking at my calendar to see what meetings I have for that day or for that week, and then updating my to-do list accordingly. And usually by the time I do all of that, it's 10, 10:30, sometimes even closer to 11, depending how many emails I had or, how much stuff I was going through. But then that's when, if there's any morning meetings, that's when I'll jump into those or schedule the meetings myself, or I'll do my small tasks then. So then I break for lunch around 12 to 1. I found through my work from home era that I used my lunch breaks as a time to get out of the house. So that was either eating lunch on my balcony or I'd run a small errand. I found that was really essential in just, I don't know, refreshing me halfway through the day when typically I would just sit at my desk in my apartment all day, every day. So I wanted to kind of share that hack. And I've even been feeling that way in the office where I can also, because I don't buy my lunch out, I don't often leave the office over lunch, but I can still go out for a walk or run an errand or something like that. So I want to start also bringing that little hack to my in-office days as well. But usually I'll come back from work around 1, and then this is my more meetings, since there's a lot of meetings at my company, or this is my dedicated work time. And again, by 1 p.m., my brain is on. The good ideas are starting to flow, and they will flow until 1 in the morning kind of thing, since I'm very much a afternoon night person. So this is when I get all of my best work done. And another hack is, since I know that about myself and I know my company is also a very meeting heavy company, if I were to block time in my calendar because I have a big project to work on, I'd block my afternoons and I would leave my mornings open and have to jeopardize maybe having a 9 a.m. meeting or something like that. But all that being said, I do my best work in the afternoon. So I try to schedule my to-dos and my calendar around that. And then I'm logging off at 5 p.m. I will say the one downside about being a night and afternoon person when you get your best ideas is sometimes I'll start working on something at say 3 p.m. and all of a sudden it's 5 p.m. and I'm like, oh, but I'm just getting going, and it can very easily be all of a sudden I'm working really late. Today's a great example where I was having such a focused, productive afternoon where I worked until 6 instead. And that's not the end of the world. I know people work overtime all the time. And I don't know. I feel like it's a mix of setting your boundaries, not letting work impede on your personal life, but also rolling with the momentum when it's flowing. So that's a line I have to walk since I'm an afternoon worker, but it works for me, or I make it work for me in any case.
The last thing you want to hear when you need your auto insurance most is,
"Thank you for calling. Please listen to your list of 46 possible service options."
which is why when you choose USAA Auto Insurance, you'll get great service that is easy and reliable. 24/7 online service for claims, access to roadside assistance, and more, all at the touch of a button. Start getting the service you deserve. Get a quote today. Ability to receive a quote depends on membership eligibility. Membership eligibility and product restrictions apply and are subject to change. USAA means United Services Automobile Association and its affiliates, San Antonio, Texas.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
Yeah, I definitely get that. My biggest issue with afternoons is at the 2 to 3 energy crash moment, which is why I tend to build in the little tasks so that I could be okay, I'm still getting stuff done, but I usually, it's not the same time every day, but I'm need to go stretch my legs, have a phone break, make a tea or I love Diet Coke, grab a Diet Coke or something, but that's my struggle.
Yeah, I actually skipped over that part where usually I also have an afternoon break, but it's coming back from that break where I'm hair up, do not disturb mode on, music blasting, headphones in. It is go time kind of thing. So sometimes that's around 2, sometimes it's around 3. If I'm deep in a task in the afternoon and I need to step away for a minute, I'll do that too. In my in-office days or during my in-office days, we have a really nice coffee machine on a different floor. So it's I'll just take a walk to that floor, grab a coffee, even just fill my water bottle, swing by my team's desks, just kind of have a little bit of a mid-afternoon break, but work from home. Even I guess when I was working from home full time, I would use an afternoon break as an excuse to like leave my office and like walk to Starbucks or, you know, just like get out for a quick walk, even just around the block. So really not too long, but I don't know. I still know I get my best work done. So sometimes I guess I just power through the mid-afternoon slump. Otherwise, I'm like, okay, I just need to take care of that need, if it's getting fresh air, getting a coffee, whatever. And then it's go time to focus on my tasks.
Yeah, for sure. Great. I guess we can start talking about our evening routines now. So for me, as I mentioned, I sign off at 5:30. We actually have like a channel we use Google Chat, but it's basically like Slack or Teams. And it's when you say you sign off, and I am like almost the first person to sign off every day because I am like, it is 5:30. I am off. See you later. So I'm very passionate about that. Obviously, like within reason. I love my clients. If a client needs me to stay late, like I'm going to stay late for them. But for the most part, I just try to like schedule myself accordingly. So sign off right at 5:30 and I'm like away from my desk. Even if I have like side hustles, personal work, the podcast that I need to work on, at 5:30, I am taking a break and walking away. Something I recently got into, which is like not revolutionary, but I just think it's fun, is changing outfits. And this is where I'll put on like a comfy look if I'm just staying home, because that was something I really missed about like working from the office, is like getting home, changing into something comfy. And I was like, I can just do that still. Like you don't have to work in an office to do that. So I've been loving that. Then we usually dinner pretty early. So it's usually like making dinner, eating dinner next. And we really love a post-dinner walk. This is like, again, another like COVID thing that's just stuck around, but really love that. Tidy the kitchen. I can now like see my kitchen from my office, which is different. And it just really nails home how I need to have a clean kitchen, or else it's literally in the background of my calls and it's so distracting. And it's just good for like overall cleanliness, waking up and not having a dirty kitchen. And then I, will sometimes be doing side hustles, things like that. But I always build in time for unwinding. We are big TV and movie people here. So a lot of times that just looks like watching a show. We watch almost all of our shows together. So we're always going through like different phases of what we're watching. So we'll watch a show or a movie together. We also like to play with our cats during this time because we don't let our cats in our bedroom. And if we don't play with them, they go crazy all night and keep us up. So we have like special toys that we keep hidden until this time. And then we bring out these toys and they go absolutely crazy. So that's a part of it. I also sometimes am like playing with my Switch, or I do like crosswords. Sometimes I'm doing crosswords at this time, or sometimes I'm reading. It really depends on my mood. And then it's just skincare, more water before bed. I'll bring like my full bottle into bed, and then half an hour, my phone like shuts itself off before I go to sleep. And so my options are I can read Apple News. That's still on my phone, but it's not social media, so it's permitted. Or I can read a book or listen to audiobooks. So I usually end up like reading my book for a little bit, move on to Apple News, and then finish the night with audiobooks. But that's really my routine. Then I go to sleep.
Love it. I am with you on so many of those points. I think kind of continuing off what I was saying about my work day, I use my like 5 to 9 for getting stuff done because I know that's when I'm most productive and have the best ideas, things like that. So you mentioned like side hustles, working on the podcast, that sort of thing, Tag. So that like 5 to 9 chunk is also when I do that type of work. It's also when I do my workouts, if I'm making like social plans, which I'll talk more about in kind of like my weekly like way I plan or things that I plan weekly. Socializing is one of those buckets I try to hit at least once a week. So I'll make plans after work in that kind of like 5 to 9 time slot, if you will. I'll also run errands in that time slot. Like this is really whatever I need to get done that week. It is all happening like Monday to Friday between 5 to 9 p.m. And then my wind down routine starts at 9 p.m. And what that looks like is typically showering. So my favorite way to end a day is to take a shower, regardless if I'm washing my hair or not. It just feels so good to wash that day away. And usually I'm like, just feel so much more relaxed after a shower. So it might be a little bit of a like mental thing, but in any case, every single day, my wind down routine starts with a shower. I also like to do my dishes and tidy my kitchen. And that's typically from making dinner or just even like working from home. My kitchen is just stacked with dishes from eating 3 meals at home through the day. So making sure my kitchen is tidy. And this is more so again to help out my morning self, that she wakes up, she's not immediately stressed and anxious when she goes to make her coffee and there's no mugs, there's no spoons, or just it's like chaotic in the kitchen. I also will set my coffee for the next day. So like setting my coffee pot to go off so that my coffee's made already in the morning. This is one of the reasons why I will never transition to an espresso or Keurig or anything like that, because I very much am like, I love the routine of setting my coffee the night before. So I have to do absolutely nothing in the morning other than get out of bed and pull the coffee pot from the maker with the coffee already made. And then I also do my skincare routine at night. I also have habits stacked taking vitamins at night. I used to take them in the morning, but some of my vitamins I'm supposed to take with food. So I find taking them at night now just helps a little bit better since I have like a day's worth of food in my stomach. I'll also make a tea and then I'll climb into bed and read. Sometimes I'm reading a magazine. Most of the time I'm reading a book of some sort. And this is very much so I'm staying off my phone for that 1 to 2 hours before bed. I will also say that unlike Tegan, I'm somebody who could literally lay in bed all day, every day. So my morning and evening routine, like they start kind of similarly in the sense of like, I'm in bed cuddling my cat. I'm either journaling or reading, but I live for that time. And like, it might sound excessive to be like, I'm reading in bed for 2 hours every single night and then sleeping for 8 hours. Then I wake up and I lay in bed for like another probably not quite an hour, but while I drink my coffee, journal, cuddle my cat, like it's a lot, but I love that. And it's like my happiest place in this world is in my bed. So I make sure to like work that into my routine, if you will. So that's what my night routine looks like though. I'm usually like lights out 11:30.
Yeah, I'm the same. I am so confused about late night TV because I am a night owl. And yet I'm like, who are these people who are watching these late shows or like late shows that are on at like 1 and 2? I don't know. Yeah. It confuses me. It feels very retro to me.
Yeah.
But
I think the last time I watched a live late night show was SNL when Ryan Gosling hosted. It was obviously Saturday night. I was going to say it was a weekend, but obviously we're talking about SNL here. And my friend was over and I think we ordered sushi. We were having a movie night anyway. And I was like, oh my God, Ryan Gosling hosts SNL tonight. And I will say there was a vibe to watching it like actually live. But would I do that every single week? I don't know. But I do think I don't know. I feel like people just have their like traditions and like routines that work for them. But it is interesting because I agree. I'm like, I need to be like, even though I'm a late night person, I need to be like cozy in bed. But I will say that if you're unsure, if you're a night person or a morning person, think about when you get your best ideas, because literally it is so annoying when I turn out my light. So I'm like 11:30 lights out person. Like I just said, I'll turn out my light. And if I'm working on a big work project, my mind, regardless of how long I read and unwind, and I'm very consistent with that unwinding routine, my mind is literally like immediately lighting up so many things where this is really bad and maybe there's a better way to manage that. But I'll turn my light back on and just like pen and paper beside my bed, write all of my thoughts just so I can like quiet my mind. And then I have all of those great ideas, since my great ideas strike me at night, for the next morning to like do something with them. But I don't know. I feel like if you don't resonate with that and you're like, oh no, that actually happens to me in the morning or in the middle of the day, then maybe you're not a night person. But yeah, I don't know. That was that was unprovoked.
I'm the exact same. This is why I have to keep like a journal on my bedside table, because if I don't write it down, it will keep me up. And this is, I'm like, have so many sleep problems. Anyone who listens to this podcast knows all about it, because I never stop talking about it. But if I don't write it down, it will work its way into my dreams, and then it will wake me up. And it's the worst. So yeah, write it down. Yeah. And half the time it's like stupid things. Like, I should respond to this email by reminding them about this. Yeah. And it's like, really? We need to wake up 5 times to remember that email, you know?
Literally 2 nights ago, you guys know I've also been talking about how I'm like starting to plan my 30th birthday, even though that's literally over a year from now. I literally planned the whole thing at like midnight 2 nights ago. I have a whole notes app page, you know what I'm trying to say, dedicated to planning my 30th birthday, because all of a sudden all the ideas are coming to me. I have like wording I want to write my invites and stuff. And it's just my thing is, you were saying it'll work its way into your dream. My thing is, I just have such a fear of forgetting what my good idea was, that I'm like, I need to write this down, because if I forget, I'll be so upset, or I'll be like trying so hard to remember what it was and it just doesn't come. But yeah, I remember being in college and high school, I would always write the thesis to an essay I was working on in my sleep. Like, literally would just fall asleep. It would come to me, I'd wake up, write it down, and then I could like fall into a deep sleep. But yeah, all of this to say, this is how to address or identify if you're a night owl or not.
Perfect. Yeah. I guess we can now talk about some of the things we do weekly, not necessarily every day, but are still like a part of our routine. And this category isn't super long for me, because I'm still trying to figure out what makes sense in my new neighborhood. So I was giving up a lot of like just like the regular routines that I had made over the past 4 years. Yeah. So my list is pretty short. I'm not really sure what it's going to look like. I've only lived in this house like 2 weeks. So I'm like, what day do I go grocery shopping? Like, I don't know. What's the best day? But yeah, we will get there. We'll figure it out. I, tend to do grocery shopping once per week, tend to do a big clean once per week. That tends to be like Sunday, but who knows? We'll see what the vibe is at the new hood. I do play hockey once a week. Through the summer, it's Monday nights. Through the winter, it's Sunday nights. And I'm really happy that I have forced exercise once a week. It makes such a difference. I'm the goalie, so I can't. There are people who sign up and never show up. I cannot be one of those people. I have to be there no matter what. So I really love that. That's really the only structured exercise I'm doing consistently. I, through like the beginning of the summer, was doing hot yoga once a week and things like that, but I'm just not sure what that's going to look like now that I'm in this new spot. We also record a podcast once a week. This is usually like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but it can shift around depending on our needs. And then I edit the podcast once a week. And that 99% of the time is Sunday. And then I schedule it to go live to our patrons on Monday and to the world on Tuesday. And so that's something I'm very consistent with, because if I'm not, I will forget. And nothing scares me more than letting down people. So I am very consistent with that. The other thing is I try to blow out my hair 2 times a week. My Dyson just died. In case you're like, girl, you blow out your hair, and looking at the state of me. So I mailed it off today. They're supposedly replacing it. We will see. But this is something that I love. I'm also a night shower person. It's very consistent. I'll do like an everything shower, blow out my hair. I also have like a laser hair removal thing at home. I'll usually like add that to the mix, and I'm just like having a 2-hour self-care session, just like me chilling by myself. But yeah, those are kind of my weekly things.
Yeah, I love that. And I love how you recognize like things things might change now that you are living in a new space in a new neighborhood. And I feel like, yeah, just giving yourself grace and having patience that it'll all work out.
Yeah.
I think my weekly tasks are probably what make me sound the most crazy. And it's because I'm so regimented with these things. And like, this is what I sit down and like plan every single week. And I feel people look at it like a flaw, but I'm going to explain my logic. So I'm in the office twice a week. That's like a non-negotiable every Monday, Tuesday. And like Tegan said, we record the podcast once a week. So that's also like a non-negotiable. It happens. I then plan everything else around those things, I guess. And I make sure to plan my meals. That's probably the other big thing. What nights I'm cooking, what nights I'm eating leftovers. And that kind of also tells me like what nights do I need to like be home, and will cooking and cleaning up the kitchen take like an hour of my night versus, I actually need that hour to do something else that night. So really plan that out. Usually I just cook dinner 2 or 3 times a week. And since I live alone, anytime I make a meal, I always have leftovers for at least 1 or 2 days. So again, just really like figuring out what nights I need to cook. But then what I'm kind of like juggling around that is, when am I exercising? So I aim to go to the yoga studio once a week. I have a Tuesday night class that I absolutely love, so I try to make it to that class. And then I try to run twice a week. And then my other big commitment I already mentioned is I also try to make social plans at least once a week through the week. And then weekends are like a free-for-all. Try to make social plans on weekends as well. But Monday to Friday, I need to see somebody at least once a week. If it's a date, if it's going out with friends, if it's going to a workout class with a friend, like that could be literally anything, but it's just social plans. So that being said, also leaves me, I need my self-care time, which of course like exercising and cooking I view as forms of self-care, but I also try to balance like very intentional, like not doing anything, don't need to be productive self-care. So I also try to work in a bubble bath once a week. Usually I follow it up with an everything shower, the face mask, like the whole thing. But usually I'll try to do that on the weekends. And then I also use my weekends to do a really good reset. So once a week I go to the grocery store, similar to you, Tag. I always do that on the weekends. And then I also vacuum, clean my bathrooms, and take out my garbage every week. And again, I'll do that on the weekends as well. I also really like a midweek clean. In the ideal world, I would do this every single Wednesday, but to be honest, I just don't always have time. So it doesn't always happen, but the weeks that I can do a midweek reset and like clean, I absolutely love that. So all this being said, my weeks are usually pretty structured and very routine in the sense Monday, Tuesday, I'm in the office. Monday, Wednesday, I run. Tuesdays, I do hot yoga. Like Tegan said, usually it's like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we record the podcast. Usually I like to do my social plans Thursday or Friday nights, my bubble baths on weekends. Like I'm very, very routine every single week. Where that's why I'm like, people probably think I'm crazy. Like if you look at my agenda, I also write these things out, even though they're the same every week, but it gives me flexibility. So if Tegan's like, hey, I can only record the podcast on Monday, it's like, okay, what do I typically do on Mondays? And can I now move that to a different night? So it's like, okay, usually I run on Mondays. Can I run after we record the podcast? Or, maybe I'll move this run to like Thursday instead. Like, I feel like knowing what I want to do and how many times I want to do it, it doesn't really matter when I'm doing it as much. I guess more so now that they're so routine that it doesn't matter as much. So it's kind of like, I feel there's like a episode of Friends where it's like, rules let you have more fun. Like that is me 100%, where it's like I have my like plan and then I can just kind of like move the parts of the plan as needed. But the fact that there is a plan is all I need to like set myself up for success. Yeah, totally. I completely operate the same way, where I don't necessarily have to like, I don't know, write I'm doing this from this time to this time. But if I'm not coming up with like, this is happening on this day and this is happening on this day,
things are going to get missed, things aren't going to happen, and then I'm going to feel shitty about it. Like, it's better to just have a plan. And I find it's also easier to like set boundaries, where I'm the kind of person, if I don't plan, like I'm doing this day and this day, people are asking me to do things, I'm saying yes, yes, yes. And then I'm like Monday night, like, shit, I have no groceries. I need to shower tonight. I need to edit the podcast. Like, if it's in my agenda, I'm editing the podcast Sunday and someone's asking me to do something, I'm like, I can't, because I have to do work. That's life. So that does definitely make that kind of easier, I find, to like set boundaries.
Yeah, 100%. And to be honest, I feel kind of going back to what I was saying earlier around I'm a very anxious person, or it's very easy to trigger my anxiety, and I know what my triggers are, and they are having a messy space, not eating, and not having a plan to how I'm going to do all these things. So it's like knowing what my triggers are, I've worked into my routine a way to feel like I have a handle on things, and that does like so much good for my mental health and my anxiety. And I also find having routine is very like grounding, and having consistency is very good for my anxiety as well. So also just want to mention that. So it's like, that's why you hear me talk about, you know, there's dedicated time in my weekly routine to clean. There's dedicated time to do groceries. There's dedicated time to cook, to pack my lunch, to eat breakfast. Like all of these things, again, they're not revolutionary, but I have to be consistent with it because it's like how I stay sane kind of thing. I also mentioned, you know, the use of my agenda, but just to like plug that again, like this is how I manage my time and plan a balanced week. And then I also use a meal planner, which is how I like plan out my meals, write my grocery list, and stay accountable to eating like healthy and well throughout the day, regardless, and throughout the week, to be honest, regardless of how busy I am.
Yeah, I love that. I also have a planner. I use it mainly for work stuff, and then I use my Google Calendar for everything else. Like if it's not in the Google Calendar, it's not happening. So totally agree.
Yeah. Is there anything, Tag, in your routine that you're like wanting to change or work on in like a fresh season? Or are you like, we're just figuring it out in the new space and then we'll see where this lands?
Yeah, I think as someone who's like not a morning person, I'm always trying to like work on that. And I don't think I'm ever going to be like the 5 a.m. wake up, like go for a jog, like all that kind of stuff. I just don't think that's for me, but I am always trying to work on that. I'm always trying to work on my sleep, and my new bedroom has a lot of natural light. So I'm trying to be like, okay, wake up and open those blinds because that will help you wake up. But it's just like, I'm not used to that. At my old house, you only got light in the evenings, and so the blind in my bedroom was closed like 99% of the time. So I'm now just trying to sort of get used to that. I'm also trying to cut back on screen time as always, so I'm not quite sure what that will look like. My doctor was like, there's no point in talking to a doctor about your sleep if you have your phone in your bedroom, because that's the problem. And I was like, okay, well, F you then.
Yeah, geez.
But I'm like, dang it. Now I'm not supposed to even have my phone in my bedroom. So I'm trying to figure out, maybe I just like get an old school alarm clock. Maybe I get like the Hatch alarm and treat myself. I don't know. So really trying to figure out what works, because it's like, I need my phone in there right now because that's how I wake up for work.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's mainly around like waking up and that sort of thing, and then figuring out like, okay, where do I want to eat my breakfast? Do I want to, like, I have an island, do I want to eat it there at the table? Do I want to go like have a coffee outside? I don't know, like little stuff like that.
Yeah, very fair. I kind of relate to like the getting up and like that being part of something you're always working on. Mine is breaking the habit of snoozing. You guys, I'm not kidding. This morning I snoozed, I'm pretty sure for like an hour and a half. Like it was insane. And my work from home days are definitely worse than my in-office days because there's not that you need to leave the house by 8:20. So you have to get up by like at least 7 to do, you know, get ready and whatever.
Yeah.
But oh my God, it's so bad. And I've done the things, and I actually feel like I was making progress on this before the pandemic, where I would set my phone, across the room. So I had to get out of my bed to turn off my alarm. Like, I've done those things, but now it's just such a bad habit that I'm back to literally needing to do anything I can to break this habit. So I feel like that's my number one priority. I also know how bad snoozing is for you. Like, you don't get any good sleep in that time. If anything, it just makes you tired or makes the mornings harder. I know that, but I still have the hardest time breaking that habit. So that is something I'm very focused on. And then you also mentioned, Tag, not drinking coffee on an empty stomach. And this is something I'm so mindful of, actually, and really dislike about my morning routine, is drinking coffee on an empty stomach. Like, there's so many bad side effects from that, but it's just, like I was saying, how easy it is to set my coffee the night before, not have to do anything, and I can just drink it in the morning, where it's like, okay, but making tea, I have to set the kettle, and then I have to wait for it to boil, and then I have my warm, cozy drink in the morning. Like, that's just not ideal. And I know it's so silly to say that, like, I'm hearing myself as I'm saying that, where it's like, girl, relax, like, mornings aren't that bad. But it's the routine of, like, it already being done. Yeah. Anyways, all this being said, it's something I'm mindful of. I don't know the solution yet. Maybe it's eating breakfast earlier, maybe I don't know what it is, but it's something that ideally I wouldn't drink my coffee on an empty stomach. And then I also mentioned trying to get better about doing some things at night to help out my future self in the morning, such as packing my lunch and my work tote the night before an office day.
Yeah, love it. Try to remove those like micro decisions.
Yeah.
Like picking your outfit and stuff, because I could not be making decisions in the morning. My outfits, if I'm putting them together, I look crazy. So
yeah, that's funny.
Get that.
I've never picked out my outfits the night before, but I feel like my brain subconsciously, like, I know exactly what I want to wear when I wake up. I don't know why, I don't know how, but I'm just like, maybe I think about it and I don't realize the night before. So in the morning, it's like, okay, just time to go. But I don't know. We'll see. I'll have to try it. Maybe it'll be a game changer for me as well. Okay, cool. Great. Well, there you go, guys. We went through every single routine we have in our day and week. So like Tegan was saying, hopefully this inspires you if you're looking to switch up your routine for the fall season, or if you started a new job, you moved houses, you are back to school, whatever situation you're in, it might be a good time to reestablish your routine. So hopefully this episode resonated with you. Even if you're not a morning person, even if you're not a type A personality, hopefully we gave you some ideas and also reminded you that just because we're talking about a routine doesn't mean it needs to be elaborate and, really crazy and what you see on TikTok. Like, it can be just a series of really basic things that help you feel better. So anyways, all that being said, if you liked what you heard, please rate the podcast, leave us a review. That's what I'm trying to say. You can also follow us on social media. We're at our Golden 20s. That's on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, all the places. We also are on Patreon. Like Tega mentioned, we drop our episodes early there on Mondays for patrons. They're also completely ad-free episodes. And just overall, that is your best way to show your support for the podcast. So we would really appreciate it if you checked us out on Patreon. And what else was I going to say? I think we went through the social media, Patreon, we have Spotify playlists. Like, literally, we have it all. Look at the show notes if you're looking for links. But we do drop a new episode every Tuesday, so we will see you next week.
Bye.